I'm Sean O'Neill and welcome to my weekly podcast where I chat to the key figures who shape and lead their industries. Today my guests are Fran and Joe from Red Rum Club.
I got sacked for stealing burgers from my last job and got into $5,000 of debt just trying to stay afloat so I could dress like a wombat in America and jump around on stage. I live a ridiculous life, you know what I mean? But
I can't wait till AI in the next 5 to 10 years comes and takes everyone's job, because that's what's happened to music, musicians over the last 2 or 3 years.
Explain this. Weightlifters or athletes push themselves peak weeks before, come down into a period, taper off, and just hit 60-70% of what they can do.
Yeah.
Until the event. But I think it's even as much in your mind, not just the physical side.
Yeah.
Which, you guys is, a lot of it has to be.
Well, yeah, that's.
In your mind.
I think we've got pretty good. It takes time, especially with like the way you're talking about sports stars and stuff. The difference with rock stars is it's late at night and there's other chemicals to compete with. Yeah. If you like, so like the whole rock star like sort of lifestyle. You have to go through that and learn how to manage that. I think we've all got to a point where we realise how to make the most of our gigs and the tours. Like you said, like when you're playing in competitions, the early rounds you're good. Very similar to us, the early rounds we're good too. Like the early gigs. If we're well practiced, we're good because we're nice and fresh. It gets to day 5 or 6 where maybe you've had 3 or 4 nights on the ale and you've had one big night out because your mate from over who lives in Glasgow, or I only pick Glasgow because it always happens there.
my mentality's different with it, don't me? Like I feel like I get better towards the end. Like towards the end,
so you're the sensible one.
But it's not. No, I'm not that sensible. That's the thing. Like I messed up. The Olympia was bad last year. I was the worst. I nearly totally messed it up. But I feel like the bit where I'm hard on myself is like the bit before when we're like practicing and that's the pressure time for me, because if I'm not hitting in them practice, it doesn't. When you get to them gigs, like I almost feel like the difference between musicians and athletes is, when it comes to the event, the athletes don't enjoy the event, but they enjoy the after the event when they can look back over it and go, oh, I achieved well there. Whereas our reward is the event itself almost. Like that's where we're just like, oh, this is the payoff. And so you almost don't really care about the performance at that point, because it's like, and then maybe when you watch it back, you'll go, oh, I wasn't quite good. I wasn't good in that. I was flat there and stuff. And watching back is almost a bit, you almost want to forget it at that point.
Do you always watch back your performances?
Yeah, we've got a neurotic guitar player who won't let us not watch it on the bus back, don't we?
On the bus?
Yeah,
literally
so like when you're
away.
tagged on Twitter or tagged on Instagram or whatever, and you're like, and they're like, oh, have you heard that? Like, and there's people tagging, great night and whatever, and I'm singing flat, or Joe misses a beat.
We're the worst for it, because we're so out in front on the mix and stuff. Like we get the most note, and we get the most crap for it. But we had to put a ban on after the tour. Like after every gig, we had to put a ban because there's 6 of us. There's always one of us who hasn't had a good time. You know what I mean? Like he's had a bit of a stinker, and they'll moan at the end, and it'll bring the mood down a bit. And then when you've got like about 3 weeks of tour left, it's just like, nah, you can't be doing that. You can wait till the next morning if you want to criticise someone, but off the night it's got to be.
But is it that even I can imagine when I'm a supporter of someone or a group or anything, because you love them, you let them off. Like
I think that as well.
You'd be more critical of yourself than the fans would be. They're just delighted to see you.
But you like Joe said, it's the lead up the rehearsals. It's like, get as good as you can in rehearsals, and then even if you do slip, the slip won't be as good as bad on tour, if you know what I mean. Like you're just like, okay, it's a bum note, but I'm well rehearsed enough to carry on, or what, like that sort of thing. And the emotional connection of the music, like you're playing some people's like favourite song that is very meaningful and nostalgic in their head. So they're going to love it anyway, you know what I mean? You're there in front of them doing it. So there is that emotional thing. I suppose the athlete comparison is the only thing is they can fail and it's a total failure. It's like, oh no, he hasn't won the title, or he hasn't won, that's sort of, and there's not really emotional or as much. I know there is players. I'm thinking Ron O'Sullivan. I've not long watched the documentary there, and there is an emotional connection there. But they're very rare. Messi winning the World Cup, there is an emotional thing there for the people, but it's not very common. Not as common as like in the game of music. Like.
I think it's funny as well because like people expect like because it's music and everyone like enjoys it and like it's healing to a lot of people. I think when they look at us sometimes and we're a bit like we come off stage even sometimes like. We come off stage too quick and we see people and they're like, that was great, and you're not always that happy about how you played, and it comes off quite, and then it's like, what are you talking about? And it's like, you're making a big deal out of something that's like...
Yeah, but have you ever gone off stage and go, all of you thought, we were just great tonight?
Yeah, a few times actually, yeah. We do give ourselves pats on the back as well. Like, I think it's one of them though, again, it's okay making a mistake or doing something wrong, but if you haven't prepared... and everyone else can see that you haven't prepared, and like you get that thing on tour, like if you're not quite there, you know, everyone knows exactly when you came into practice because you've got CCTV in the room and everything.
Everyone is like,
all documented.
Although that's just a mistake rather than actually you're not prepared for that bit. You've never got that bit nailed down. You haven't practiced it enough, whatever. Like, and it's very rare that we have those because we hold a
not anymore. It used to happen quite a bit though. I think when it was hard because we've always been like a proper working band does, so like. We don't really live the life of a musician or anything. Like music's probably the.
But you've kind of grown steadily, haven't you? It's not like being. Correct me if I'm not right, but I would imagine because you've known each other for so long, you've grown together and you'll be able to make slight tweaks and adjustments and help each other.
Yeah. I mean it's been going about 8 years now, hasn't it? Like in this formation, and like.
So how did you actually get together?
Yeah, you can start that one.
Joe was like the final piece of the jigsaw. Me and Tom are cousins. We just played. I got a guitar for Christmas, and Tom was like, "I'll get a guitar for Christmas too." We ended up jamming. Mike and Simon, friends from school. Neil, the drummer, went to my school, and we were all just playing in pubs and clubs in town in Liverpool and in like around our area, Crosby and Waterloo and Bootle, playing like shows just for like ale. And then Mike sort of asked all the best people out of the bands he knew and was like, do you want to come and jam and that? And we got together and it was just better than anything we've ever played before, and we were like, oh, that's great. We had like a year or two, got a manager, a guy down in London, a manager who's in Liverpool and a manager down in London. The guy down in London, after about 6 months of working with us, said, bands aren't cool anymore. You need something different, you need something new. And then Mike bumped into Joe in a pub and was like, Joe was like, I play trumpet, do you want to come down and jam? And then
we used to play, like, me and Mike used to be like, we used to have like battle of the bands between schools, and like the first year we were like competing against each other, and then the second year he just came to support us because he wasn't allowed to do it twice in a row because it had to be all inclusive and stuff at school, which is nice, like all that stuff. Like I think the schools pushed us a lot at that time to be into music, like because we all had facilities to practice in. We all had like, I'm guessing Neil must have been given a drum kit before he started, like, or something, or in the, like, I always thought the music stuff in school was great, and that kind of pushed me being in the band. And I went away for a few years. I went to Huddersfield, did uni and that, like, just because I wanted to get away from Liverpool for a bit, just that I was a bit of a, you always feel like you want to get away, and then you realise that, like, home was actually the best. It's the best of the bunch, it's not greener at all.
Well, I wanted to get away and realise that Liverpool was my home
when
I arrived here.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh, I should have been here the whole time.
Never wanted to leave.
I think it is a compliment to the city. Like, I think it is a great place to live. Like, I think sometimes you just want to rebel a little bit when you're a kid, and then when you've got your head on your shoulders.
I remember hearing that the Liverpool is the fun pound, and if you think Liverpool's huge on music, huge on football, and you know, lots of people love to come here for the weekend, and I didn't really understand it. I came here probably at the right time in my early 20s, and I just everything. Okay, not every city's perfect, but for me, it's it's an incredible city to find your way, especially as you're young. It's maybe unorthodox as I wasn't big into school, and I always thought there's another way apart from going just to school. And obviously I found my way, which wasn't easy, but I found that Liverpool has, it feels like there's hope for all. Music is a prime example.
It's got a flag to get behind, doesn't it? Like, I think a lot of people like relate to each other in this city because they all have the same passions and follow the same teams and bands and get behind anything that's from the local area. Even if you're not like originally from it, you've made it in that area, you know what I mean? Like the amount of people who like don't even come from here or just very patriotic to it, aren't they?
There's a clear identity of Liverpool, of like you said, the music, the sport, the nightlife, that all within like a very small geographical area. So it always feels busy and something going on, and something, I say, like people in the 20s, we've just been walking down there and there's students everywhere. People will be able to like sort of live this really cool, exciting, creative life. And once it gets older, then it's always got to be, you know, you're always going to compare sort of that city, the feel of this city compared to others. And there's not many places in the world. We've travelled America 4 times now, going back for the 5th time. We haven't really, you know, New York's got a hustle and bustle, but hasn't got like a feel like creativity. There's
places you want to live, and like obviously you get wowed by it, but like, I mean, I'd always think like, oh, I'd like to spend a year here, but I'd always, in back of me, I'd be like, but then I'd come back to Liverpool.
I remember hearing or reading about this guy had super wealthy, successful guy, and he started saying about how expectation is greater than reality, and I find that the exact same thing. I've gone to so many amazing places and countries in the world, and they are wow. Yeah. And by the end of the holiday, or I think, you know what, happy to come back here and get stuck in. You could go back. So then, if I do well here, I can go and visit all these amazing places and do all the amazing things.
Just from like a band's point of view, the same sort of thing of like, we were always like, yeah, what we'll do is we'll do this. Every band has the same dream. We'll go to America, we'll play New York, we'll go to LA, we'll do this, we'll go to London, we'll, you know, tear it up over there. And we've never had a better night out than Liverpool. Like the top 100 nights out we've had have all been in Liverpool.
Probably, yeah.
And I always say to everyone around the world, like, to me, LA's amazing, New York's amazing, Austin, Denver, wherever we've been in the world, we've been. But it was like, you can start at the top of the city by the cathedrals up here where we are and walk until your feet get wet until you get into the Mersey. Every day for a year, you never have the same night, and you'd never like run out of a pub to find, and you never.
A funny story. We were engaging in some business. We were engaging in some possible joint ventures with an American company, a fund that wanted to come to Liverpool and invest. So they came to Liverpool and they had such a great time that the guy who was getting married cancelled his stag do in Miami.
Miami?
And the very wealthy guy, he's got his own jet, flew his mates here, and we looked after them. Me and my elders, a group of guys that
I think that's
my
a bit
mentors,
far.
and they basically cancelled Miami to be here, and they came here and they basically said they had one of the best weekends.
And he all turns up with like the summer trunks and that, sun cream like that.
It was summertime, so anyway. But they had an
Didn't tell them till they were on the flight. We're changing the course of flight. We're not going to Miami. We're going to Liverpool.
So looking down, going, there's Miami there. Where are we going?
So you got together. Your manager George.
Yeah.
That's how small Liverpool is.
Yeah.
I was one of my business partners. I mentioned that I was going to be speaking to you today. He's head of sports science in John Marini, and I mentioned you guys, and he says, "Oh, George," and he started, and that's what Liverpool's about.
Oh yeah.
You know, just the next thing, you once removed. But so you got together, and you were looking after yourselves at that stage. Is that right?
Well, no, George
always like
George was involved before Joe was involved, sort of thing, and then
so it's 5 years in George.
Yeah, and then the guy from London who was George's partner, he got out of management. It's probably, well, he said that he dropped us basically. That's what happens. And then George stuck around. We got Joe involved, and then George has just been there forever. Yeah. He's been the guy who's just been like sort of driving the shit. He's the sort of nice equalizer. We're each other's all the time, and we're always like, you know, while they're on tour or that, sometimes we can get each other's throats or we can have like a debate, the 6 of us, so very easily it comes to very often it comes to a 3-3 vote, and George then comes in and gives a different perspective.
Like job, and he's just going through it all, thinking he puts up with a lot of
children, you know what I mean? And then he's you know, with us forever. Just his energy and his passion is just the thing that like sort of is infectious to us. You know what I mean? When we get down ourselves, he comes in and goes, he's joking at you. You see this, see that, you're doing this, you're going back to America, blah blah, and you're like, oh yeah. And then, you know, when he makes contacts in the industry, when he's the guy vouching for us, I think people just get that. It's like, oh, like George just.
I could tell by Dave's smile how much he thought of George, because he says George, and you can tell by someone's body language.
He's Forrest Gump. He's lived a million lives.
George must be a good guy.
Yeah, he lights up a room, like, doesn't he? Like,
I'm looking forward to meeting him someday.
Yeah, you'll have to. Yeah, you never get a word in. Like,
no.
So who wrote the first song?
That would be. It was you three at first, wasn't it, really?
Yeah, Mike had a couple of songs, and he was like, got these songs, and we learnt them, whatever, and then it just sort of it's a song called Cut the Rope, wasn't it?
Oh, that's before my time.
That was before you, yeah. And then what was the first one with you?
Well, you had about 6 when I joined, because I think you only kept 2 at that point for the album, though, which was TV Said So, Matador.
Matador, yeah.
Yeah, Matador was the one that made me think, oh, these can write tunes, like, so. I know, I fancy myself a bit of a big shot trumpet player, so I was auditioning them as much as they were auditioning me. That's always the line, but I could just see myself kind of like, don't know, I like that whole like grandiose Bond sound that you had at that time. It was very much, because it was all like trying to be cinematic, and you had that Where Nobody Goes video at that point as well, so I was watching that and I was like, these guys are trying to be cool, aren't they? Like, not saying they were cool. But
are you cool now?
I don't know. It's always funny because when I was in uni, I'd just see like, I didn't even know I was going to be part of this band, but like when you were small print, I'd watch I'd watch videos, because obviously Mike and Si were good mates of mine when we were kids, and like we grew up all so close together, and so I'd see this band that they were in, and even one time you released a song, and it was one I'd written with Mike when I was a kid. And I was laughing.
Straight on the phone.
I was just in uni doing like my dissertation, and I was laughing my head off because I could just hear this tune that I'd written, and he's had just done a video for it, and he's like, you were singing it, and everyone, yeah, Jenny, it was, yeah. And Mike still to this day reckons he was the one who wrote most of that, but I remember he turned up late to that session, so yeah, I'll be coming knocking for royalties when you re-release it. Like.
Then Tom come into his own as a songwriter. Tom sort of become the guy then.
Yeah.
He was just like. He just come in. He'd go away, and I think Mike and myself, I think at that time, were like, right, we need to write a song, and we'd sit down and write a song. Tom would like just pick up his guitar in the bedroom and just go, I just wrote a song, and didn't even realise he'd wrote a song, you know what I mean? And then come in and go, I've got this thing, and we'd be like, that's good, that. So, like, you know, it was sort of just in him naturally. We'd have to like go, come on, we're a band, we need to write songs. He was just like doing about
how do you know you need to? Is there a certain amount that you have to do per year? How do you go about writing a song?
I mean,
you don't. It's about you. It's about, there's no one way to skin a cat. You just do it, and it just becomes a thing. It's art, and it's.
Can you write too many songs? Can you actually like duplicate your time because you're constantly writing and not perfecting?
Yeah, I think you can write too many songs if you're planning to release them all. I think, but the whole point is I think the need for writing songs is the fact. I mean, you set yourself your own targets, and that's so like we obviously always wanted to get the first album ready, but like. We didn't really think we'd be ready until we'd done about 20 or 30 songs, because not every song you're going to write is going to be great, is it? Because like you have mistakes in you, and like some days you'll like things and some days you won't, and it's the ones that you like day after day where it's like, oh, that one is actually going to stay. There's so many songs that we've ended up recycling that like even from this new album now are still like from like album 1, where they're songs that we've rejected at the time because we were just like, nah, they don't work. But then when you come and revisit them, you get that moment of inspiration. It's like, oh, now I can see how we can make this work, and this riff, this makes sense if we do it in this way, and you create something that you never even thought you were capable of creating, really. Particularly with like Houdini and that, like in the new album. Like, it's just a very old riff that we had for ages, and Tom wrote a really crap chorus for it at first, didn't he? And it was dead cheesy, and he's ended up doing it into like one of the deepest songs that like he's probably ever written lyrically.
The motivation of songwriting sort of has changed over for Matador, we were just writing songs, good songs, to get signed.
Yeah.
We were just like let's write some songs, a dead catchy chorus which will get on a radio, and a record label will go, yeah, we want that, we'll have that. Whereas now it's like...
That's black and white, because people are just going to buy the song. They're not going to look into you as a following, or in the early days, or these guys have energy, let's back them. has to be the song.
It had to be like a guy in a boardroom pressing play and going, that'll go on the radio.
So it's emotions completely taken out of it.
There you go, yeah.
We even dressed in black and white at that time.
We did.
That was literally
We did, yeah.
We wouldn't wear any colours, like not even joking.
Yeah.
We kept it like it was a band uniform for 3 years where you weren't allowed to wear any colour. Like when I first joined, wasn't I? I'd just come back from Thailand.
Who made them rules?
I want to say, it was you, wasn't it? I just got back from Thailand though, and I kind of knew they were taking it quite seriously. I don't know why I did it, because I knew it would annoy you, but I was wearing like them, like, you know, they're like, the proper, you know, like the parachute ones you get in Thailand.
Like the hippie ones, you
traveling, that you pay like £3 for, and they kind of fall apart after about 2 weeks of wearing them. I just thought it'd be funny to turn up into band practice wearing them.
We were just all going, it's not going to work then. Go get some skinny
I don't know
jeans.
what we thought was. It was just thought, like, if you like me playing after that, then it wouldn't really matter, you know what I mean? I don't know.
And then you had to go to the top man to let's get some jeans.
Yeah. Usually, like, you can be in the band, but just when you're around us, can you just wear black and white, please?
When you're around us.
Yeah. And then how do you actually take? How do you actually take your holidays and because I'm thinking, if there's 6 of yous, how much of the practice everybody needs to be together?
Yeah.
Because literally, then you have to nearly time your diaries. Time your relationships, time your family.
It doesn't really work either, to be honest. When you've got like day jobs, it's really hard. Like, we've set this thing now, haven't we, where Wednesdays are like the holy day. Like, you cannot book anything on Wednesday, even though our bass player is skiing right now.
He's in France, yeah. And you're here. But he's only the bassist. So
he's fine. Yeah, he gets a pass. But yeah, like Wednesdays are the days where like you got to keep that free, or if you're gonna book it off, that's when you have to do it like a month in advance or something. And I honestly, if we try and do anything that's not on a Wednesday now, it's absolute murder. Like getting 6 people to just be coordinated.
And as much as like we done it, you be in a band, and when we got to this point to be our own boss, to be our own sort of like, no, we're in a band and we can be creative. We don't have to work 9 to 5s or whatever. But quite ironically, we've got ourselves where we've kept Wednesdays officially Red Rum Club days, and we all get in at a certain time and we all go home at a certain time, because that's the way, you know, we wanted to be like, no, we'll just turn up and we'll play some songs and then we'll get off. It's like, it doesn't work like that. Like, you've got to sort of still have a bit of a regimented sort of, no, everyone gets here, everyone gets on time, and we do our thing.
It's one thing that you don't have to organise. It's done, it's in. So you don't have to think about it. And then the creativity happens in those thingos, in those, and then you can have times on and off. So we're currently getting into an album cycle. So the album comes out in 3 weeks' time. Then we go on a acoustic tour. Then we go on a proper UK tour, like big shows, finish in the arena. Then we go to America in May. So between that and then festivals start. So for the next 6 weeks, we're busy. So 6 months rather, we're busy. So we are in now Wednesday, and now we're even talking, okay, we need another day, we need another this, so our time's really tight at the moment. But then sometimes we do have like off weeks and off months where we're just like, okay, we don't need to be in Wednesday, do we? Swear that, let's be all right. But it still comes down to all 6 of us being disciplined and being like, okay, I know we're a band and everyone thinks we all think we're dead cool and all that, but we're not. But you get in, you get to work, and if you're not in on time or you're not pulling your weight and doing your thing, we'll have to tell you. Is there other rules that's outside the Wednesday? How you?
No, but sometimes that can cause a bit of issues as well, can't it? If some people end up doing more of the work than others, it could be. You just got to find your role basically, because I don't know. We're so set in our ways that like. I find it hard to find my role in the band sometimes, because I think I'll just practice loads and then that'll give me my kind of thing. But you're always under a bit of a microscope if not, because it's just business. Like that's the side of it now. Like, you can't just enjoy the music. You can't just be playing all day and just smoking weed and having jamming and stuff like that. You can't be doing that, because
it's not the 60s.
You've got big VAT bills to pay in the end of the year and stuff like that. We found out the hard way, and it's why we've kept our like day jobs really. And at first, we were maybe a little bit ashamed of that, weren't we? Because it's like, oh, you should be earning your living through the band. And like, sometimes I used to work in a bar and like, it was a music bar, and so everyone used to come in a lot, and they'd be like, "What are you doing here? You don't need to be working here like that." And I was like, I fucking do need to be working here actually, because if I don't work here, then I can't do what I'm doing out there, And because all it was is it's just building the business model. And ironically, I think until you've got that sorted, unless you've got like major backing behind like big labels or like big spend to have on social media campaigns, and like which you got to be really creative with as well.
I think it was quite. I think we've only just sort of realised this the last 2 or 3 years with the band. We used to try and make a brand as well as a band, so we used to make like Red Rum Club with this thing and with this, and we're a band and we're here and we're blah blah blah. Where then it's very quickly, as the fan base grew and we got to speaking to people who knew the band, they didn't see us as a band, they seen us as like six mates, and they knew more about us as individuals, or just as much about us as individuals as they do the music. So we've stopped like trying to be a band and just be us. So like, yeah, we've got day jobs, and it's like you can't hide what we are. You know what I mean? We're, so I think that, and that realness comes over in sort of everything that we do now. You know
so you just do you use social media, all of you?
Yeah, we've all got access to social media.
And you all just portray your own lives as you do, and then some with the band.
Yeah, I mean, we don't show off the day jobs or anything like that, you know what I mean? But we never hide the fact that, like, I don't know, part of our image is that we graft, like, isn't it? Like, that we're always working towards making, I don't know, a life that we enjoy, I suppose, because, I mean...
I think one of my main quotes that I say is that everything is temporary.
Yeah.
And whether you have huge money in the bank or you believe in the future you can have, it's temporary. Yeah. Your energy's temporary. What'll probably hold you together, and sounds like it is, you know, your values and the fact you value each other is something, and that's quite hard for, like, from a business side of thing, as you just say, VAT comes in and all these expenses and all the effort and things that I call it the contingency of life, hits you. So if everybody talks about the add sauce on whatever pound it is, if it's £1 million, believe me, if it's £1 million, by the time you pay your taxes, by the time you pay your VAT, by the time you pay your expenses, and by the time you split the money, it's 50 grand each.
Yeah.
But it's £1 million, so you're all, and it's the same. And you know, I worked out one day that if I was to keep 1 or 2 pennies from every pound that I transacted, so 2% maximum of all of the money I ever touched, I'd be an extremely wealthy guy. Yeah. Because that's living. Yeah. That's everything knocks the pound down, doesn't it? Definitely. It comes out of your pocket.
Yeah, like, and we're finding that, like, the weddings, this is where we have to sort of like separate the art and the band and business, in a sense of, like, Wednesday is a creative Wednesday, like, okay, let's all get together, let's write some songs, and we even design t-shirts that we've been doing today, deciding like the image of the t-shirts that people are going to buy and hopefully wear and represent for us. That's all done on a Wednesday, us picking guitars up, writing songs, rehearsing, whatever it is. Then all the other days are, okay, that invoices come in, I need to send that up, blah, 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 all that sort of thing. And it's I think it's especially in the band, especially in the music industry, it's underappreciated or sort of not really
misunderstood, really.
Yeah, misunderstood of, like, how things like that happen. And we're just lucky there's 6 of us, so we can share the workload, and we're all pretty well driven, that we're able to manage the other 6 days of the week, the actual business side of things, the actual life, you know, the real life stuff. We managed to manage it, you know what I mean?
I think what drives us as well is, like you say, everything's temporary, but like the gigs are temporary, like the time you have to do this kind of thing is temporary as well. Like, so if you're going to get bogged down with all the business side of it and get a bit upset by it, then you're just going to miss out on the good times that you're here to do, you know what I mean? Like, we get to do the arena, like, this April, and, like, last summer when we got that big bill, we were like, sometimes we were kind of like, are we even going to get to that point, you know what I mean? But you have to get to that point, otherwise you don't get to do the arena, and that's probably why not many people have done it from our level, you know what I mean? Like, because it's literally very, very hard to do, and if you're not motivated or prepared to just take a few of them hits, you know what I mean? Like, it was crazy last summer, wasn't it? We were meant to be having one of the best tours in America, and, like, it was a big financial crisis for the band, and we had to be
just
like,
right, 2 weeks before,
yeah, literally,
like, and a big bill come in, and we were like, what?
Yeah,
we're like, no, 2 weeks before we go to America for 3 weeks, and we've got to travel from west to east.
still got to pay some of the stuff for that as well.
Huge expense for the band, and then this expense basically coming. And we had some money ready to do it.
Was this something that was just missed on the business plan?
It's a learning curve.
It's a learning curve. Yeah. It was partly our fault, partially miscommunication with the accountant and stuff like that. But it was just wow, what are we going to do?
So logistically, is that where the likes of George comes in, or
I'm not giving him credit for that.
No, we were. Yeah, he. It's a case of we sort of had to like move a few things around and work some things out, and George come in and the accountant sort of come in and work together. But we were very much in the conversation, driving the conversation. Probably like, we've just had this, George. We need it, and so George's like, okay, I need to do his thing, and we do our thing, and. You know, if we're ever gonna fall out or break up as a band, it'd probably be over something like that, rather than like creative, like sort of.
That's how most businesses or partnerships or even relationships finish. Yeah. But I think on some of the lessons I've learned, like all businesses or partnerships that start off, you have to be a bit of everyone to get by. Yeah. You have to be the accountant or the logistics guy or the operation. You just have to, because if you were to pay for all those services, it just wouldn't exist. Yeah. So I've been there. Yeah. And as the businesses have grown, I realised that I am not the best person for almost any of these jobs. To the point I actually sit and wonder, what am I actually good at?
Yeah.
You sort of think, what's the point of me doing anything? I'm like, how did I even get to here if I'm no good at anything? Yeah. Or I'm not. And you know, over the years, and it's not easy, but I do try and get the best people to do every single part of the job. And what I do to tell them is, when they ask me a question, I say, do I need to know?
Yeah.
I straight away that, because I do realise that it's back to what we said at the start. It's your nervous energy, it's your thoughts, it's your creativity, it's your. If there's something in your mind that can trigger, you know, from your past.
Yeah.
If you've ever, you know, which a lot of us have, but if you've ever been in a really difficult financial position where it's close to bankruptcy, or you just have no money in your pocket and you can't feed yourself, or you're used to stories of your grandma and you're telling you them. If you sit around that table and you discuss how are we going to get across America? There's a huge bill coming. Could ruin your whole day, your whole week, or even the future of the band, future of your business.
That's quite funny what you say about, like, when you get to a level where you realise you're not the best person for the job, or for certain jobs, and you go, there you go. That's quite funny, quite ironic. It's quite you can transpose that across to like the music and being in a band. So we're just doing exactly what we done 4 years ago, and the crowds are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we're like, we're playing the arena, you know, there's going to be 9,000 people in the arena, and we're like, are we worthy of 9,000 people? It's like we're just doing the same things.
Wait till you're doing 90.
Well, yeah, but we'd be doing the same thing. We'd be like, no, we just go in, we rehearse, and then we turn up, we sound check, we go, and then we play, and we do the songs, and I do my stupid moves, and Joe does his trumpet bit, and then we walk off stage, and it's like, well, is that really? It's
the problem, isn't it? If you overthink it, it's like what you were saying about your tournaments before. You've only got so much, and once you burn out, that's it. And I think, like, particularly when we're talking about like, each aspect of business, when it's like, you've got to be the accountant, you've got to be like strategist, marketing, all that, and like you don't want to know sometimes, because if you do know everything and you get involved in everything, you will burn out, and it will cause like a problem. Like, you need to kind of be able to switch off at one point and just be like,
and that's where, to be fair, that's where joint ventures, partnerships, and some of the best people you'll ever meet in your life. Because if you haven't got the money to do or pay for these services, you can sort of say, well, if you help me here, I will in the future do X, Y, and Z, or even help you now. I have a trade-offs between getting the best people to do something for me because I couldn't pay them, and I will be able to reward you. It's not always money. If you go back, you know, before money was invented, it was you traded potatoes for carrots, didn't you? And everyone survived. And I, you know, I do understand the financial part of the business is huge, but ultimately it's about getting the result.
Yeah.
However you get the result. Yeah. And it's also rewarding that you can then collaborate, or you can find another way. There's always another way, apart from only financial. I did a mentorship session yesterday with a guy that has created a business, is starting to get some really good traction, but he can't afford 50 grand of services a year because he needs his accountant, he needs mentorship, he needs all types of things. I says, well, what 50 grand of value can you give to these people to get you past the next year? There's advertisement, there's a banner, and he said, I never thought of that. There's exposure.
Yeah.
There's just, if you like what I do, please support me, and when I make a few quid, I'll pay you. If you're able to just get the best people around you at what they do, it can catapult you into that, and then the stratosphere, and how you see your own value. Of course, you're worthy 90,000, 900,000, irrelevant to the amount of people that want to watch, pay for you. If you're going to end up being the same guys doing the same thing,
that's why
think about that.
I like the fact it's taken us about 8 years to get to this point, because it means you can build your close circle up very gradually, and you get to know people and know who to trust and who can help you out, not in like a manipulative way, but just being part of the team who, like you say, they get a value out of the services they put in, and they can enjoy it with you, and like it creates quite a team. It becomes more of a team rather than a business when you look at it in that way.
So you'll all quit your jobs one day.
One day
at the same day, you'll be right, I'm gone.
Right, see you later. And then 6 months later, we'll be looking for another job.
I'm scared.
Where's all that money gone?
I'm scared when we do, because it's like, are we actually like, you're going to have to put the time in somewhere else, you know what I mean? You can't, because we've got to keep that graft up, otherwise I think that's when it's game over. Otherwise, if we're not doing anything, we'll just get lazy, won't we?
So how do bands fill their time? Because there must be individuals that prefer to do more singing, do more writing, do more exercise, do more partying.
Yeah. Or business on the other side.
Or, and that's another thing, take on possible new ventures to diversify.
I think you just explained every one of us individually there, like literally.
I've done my research there.
Yeah, so like Tom would probably, if the day ever come, he'd probably spend more time writing songs. He'd probably spend more time with guitar.
Creative defo. He likes the image side of it a lot more now as well, doesn't he? Like, he's gone into that lately. Like, he's always wanted to be creative, and if he's stuck, I don't think he's stuck in any way, but like he'll move between just to keep his creativity quite high. Like, he'll do the image stuff when he's maybe a bit stuck on the music, and then he'll have that to inspire, and he'll inspire that to go back to the music when he's a bit stuck in the image. Like,
so he'll be doing songwriting or like graphic design, whatever he is, and he'd probably work with different artists, get young bands in, or young artists, singers, songwriters, and go, no, this is what you need, this is what you have to do, and diversify in that way.
And our party guy's skiing right now. So
party guys.
He's fitting his
drunk in the Alps somewhere.
So I had Keith Mullen from the farm on last week.
Yeah, good guy, Keith.
And he told me about the amount of money they had, the sex, drugs and rock and roll lifestyle that they enjoyed, and I suppose in hindsight they mightn't have blown up as much of the money as they did, but looks like they enjoyed themselves.
Yeah, definitely.
My perspective, and so many other perspectives out there, that as you said before, you guys are minted.
Well,
and do you feel sometimes that if you were born 20 years earlier and had created what you created, do you feel like you've been slightly hard done by not being in that time, or do you just are you sort of content, or does it?
It's a fun thing to look at. I think realistically, no, because I think if you start looking that way, like, obviously you can get lost and you can have the poor me's where it's like, oh, we didn't get that opportunity, and like, it's quite a similar thing that happens with this generation when it comes to like buying property and stuff. There's a lot of people who are a lot worse off or haven't got the opportunities that the previous generation have had because of the government for the last 14 years as well. But I think for us, I've always I'm working in a coffee shop at the moment. I got sacked for stealing burgers from my last job and got into $5,000 of debt just trying to stay afloat so I could dress like a wombat in America and jump around on stage. I live a ridiculous life, you know what I mean? But you can't. It's one of them. It's funny. It's something to say at parties, isn't it? Like, I mean, I look at some of these new bands who are like, they're coming in, they're getting a #1 record like straight off the bat because they've had all this stuff given to them, and they've had this kind of like what you'd imagine most bands were getting in the 90s and 80s, where it's like big budgets, you know, and like, you know, they're getting everything thrown at them and they're going to be a star. And then they get that and they've got this album because that's what got them to being a star. And then it gets released. And then afterwards, they have that come down. And when you're not used to them, like come downs, like you're not used to breaking down on the motorway at 5 a.m. and having to sleep in the service stations until one of us gets an AA membership sorted so we can call someone out, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, if you're not used to these pitfalls, like, you kind of have a bad time. Like, yeah, because they are like, the amount of times you probably broke down and cried in this band, like, not in a nasty way, just like, because it's so ridiculous sometimes.
Like, how we got here, yeah.
Just a big release of like, oh my God, I can't believe some of the things we're having to do here.
I was saying the other day, I said to my dad, I was talking to my dad and I said, I can't wait till AI in the next 5 to 10 years comes and takes everyone's job, because that's what's happened to music, musicians. 5 years, or 2-3 years, over the last 2 or 3 years. Spotify, I'm all for art being free and all that, but the iPhone and the streaming services and all that, they sort of took music in a different way. I pay for a Spotify membership. I love the fact that I can find music everywhere, anytime, from all over the world, at a few clicks. But it also hurts me financially in the fact that no one buys albums, or very few people buy albums and vinyls anymore. So the financial sort of foundations of the music industry have just dissipated. So it's hard, and there is bands who still get the sort of major 90s sort of money, but then most of the industry now is built on people just doing DIY things and having their own making their own path. Whether you're a social media sort of creator and like you're a big artist who does their songs on social media, whether you're like us, like a big live band who people buy tickets to go and see because they want to see six
changed
lads.
So much in the last 5 years though.
Possibly,
like
yeah.
You look at Spotify and like it was great and all that and it's good, still like it, you know. I'm not bashing Spotify, I think it's a great platform, but like even now I've just seen like the last couple of days you can pay Spotify directly now for adverts, like to advertise your album, which obviously the people with money are going to be well more able to do, like majors, and it makes it that little bit harder for like people like us who are kind of, obviously we have support from a label and stuff, but like they're a smart label, you know, they want us to end up with a wage at the end of it rather than just a big load of debts that a lot of these bands, like that's the difference now as well. Like people got like royalties back in the day, and now I don't even think they own even like 5% of like their art, you know what I mean, if you take the route of these major labels, because I've heard of these people who like, they get a bit of a wage while they're on tour, but then afterwards they're kind of thinking, oh, we'll get our money at the end of this campaign, and they're not. Yeah. And so they are kind of living that like that lie of, oh yeah, we're super successful and all that, whereas like we've never had to portray that because we've never ever had that treatment. But it must be really hard if you have had that treatment to then have to have that downtime and kind of like you're still in the limelight, but you're not getting any money.
There's loads of stats. There's loads of stats of even lottery winners.
Yeah. Literally, like
overnight success.
I do think something has to change, because it's the people who in the future, if there's no immediate payback, if there's no immediate sort of like, here's a new song, put it out, or new album, put it out, and everyone, or a good enough amount of people pay a tenner and the artist sees a return. Sooner or later, the people who have to go out and work for a living and can't be supported financially by the parents or other people or record labels or whatever, they're not going to create music. And sooner or later, it's going to have to be like the only people who will be able to create music are the people who can afford to, so the people who can have a year off and have someone else pay the rent on their flat or their studio time. Or it's going to be a government subsidised sort of thing, like the ballet is or the opera is at the moment, where it's like, oh no, he's a good songwriter, the government are going to pay him to write some songs for a year or whatever it is. So there needs to be some sort of shift somewhere. but hopefully, we're saying things are bad now in comparison to the 90s. It could get a lot worse.
I think
anyway,
it is now though. Like, as in, if you're going to start a band, like, what's the best way to start a band? It's like, have money, because if you have money, you can spend time doing the band rather than having to spend time getting money so you can do the band. You know what I mean? Like,
you're always at a disadvantage because you're having to split your time between supporting yourself.
I've always imagined music is that sort of, you have it in your heart and soul, and you'll be happy eating beans and toast for years.
Well, and
we wait for a bit, weren't we? I think, like, happy to anyway. At least still eating the beans on toast, like.
But people take advantage of that. Like, people take advantage of that. Like, oh no, you're just gonna write songs anyway. We don't need to pay them.
It's maybe not a great comparison, but it's like nursing in NHS. The nurses. I think everyone agrees that they deserve a lot more, but they're not going to strike and walk out because it's built into them. The care.
Yeah, that's what people can
and
rely
then
on
with
for.
that, the supply and demand is there, and there's no immediate pressure to say, well, look, nurses need 20, 30 quid an hour, which I think is unanimous. Everyone realizes that people, who care, and people that look, especially when you're sick, you realize. But back to the music, is I have when I speak to anyone that's in music, they're willing to go through dark times because they are passionate about what they do.
It says more about the financial state of like things at the moment, though, more than that, because it's obvious, like, it's like people want to do these things, like you say, nurses, they want to help people, but at the same time they need to be able to survive, don't they? And because the imbalance is so big at the moment when it comes to like the austerity and the people who are like middle class and rich, like, it's hard because you want to be that person, you want to be the caring person, but you need to be slightly greedy just so you can pay your rent, don't you? Like, I think that's one of the most frustrating things with us sometimes. It's like when I said, like, we can't all get together, it's because like one of us has got a shift or something, and that person's just like, they want.
I don't think working is greed. Paying your rent is great. We'll let you off.
One of us want it, but
I like your modesty.
We all want to be there, though. That's what I'm saying. Like, we all want to be there for the music, but one of us is going, I've got to go and do this shift, and like the other five sometimes are like, oh, can't you, like, it's about the music, like, why aren't you prioritising the music, like, and work's more important? It's like, no, work's more important, it's just living's more is important.
Do you know what's quite like, you talk about the nurses thing in comparison to the music thing, the austerity in the government, the whole thing around that is like you can put a face to the people who are not giving the nurses that the pay rise. You can be like, no, if those people just done this thing, then the nurses will get more money. The catch-22 of the music industry at the minute, and the fact that sales or record sales have fell through the floor, is faceless because it's technology that has sort of taking that finance stream away from artists and record labels and stuff like that. It's like this great thing that we use every single day, and it's like, oh, I love this. I'd love going on TikTok and Instagram and Spotify and all that. And as a consumer, I love it. But then as a musician, I'm like, well, where am I meant to go with this thing? And that's why I go bring it back to the AI thing of like, it's going to be in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, when everyone's going, what are we doing? We've got nothing to do. We're not getting paid for the things we're doing because technology is doing it better.
I've been really terrible of predicting any future economically or anything, so I just try and stay the optimist at all times. And sort of, obviously there's going to be a few speed bumps along the way, but I think we'll get there, or we'll evolve. So what do you think for yourselves then? After you've finished, will you just continue to tour as long as you get a living, and are you loving it to the point that how old are you? What bracket? Oldest?
I'm the oldest. I'm the oldest, aren't I? And I'm 32 next month.
Yeah.
So we
still have the energy.
And Tom's still in his 20s, so like he's our like token baby. You know what I mean?
He hasn't got the energy though, has he? He's like a sloth.
I think, to be honest, like, I think we'll do it until like I think we'll always do it until, I don't know. We've always said like we always want to be on the up, and we've never like, apart from like I say, we put a bit of maybe a bad spin on this. Like, we all love being in the band, you know what I mean? Like, it's easier to talk about all the hardships because
I think
that's
you put a great
really
spin on it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think you come. There's no bad spin. You just exactly said how you live your life and how it is on a daily basis.
Yeah, it can be a bit cold sometimes because I think we have to just kind of like be focused because we're so busy. But like it is great. So and as long as we feel it's great, like and the band has always grown. We've never had to take a backward step when it comes to like. I think what we gauge it on, the main thing is live, because you can have as many streams as you want on Spotify, it will not fill a room because so much of it now is unconscious listening, because you're literally getting told, even this Daylist thing now that's come out this year, which is an AI-driven playlist that will change 4 times in a day now. It means you don't even have to pick between like the playlist that you would have had in a day, like the daily mixes now. It's just literally given to you and spoon-fed to you. And you're saying, oh, the algorithm knows what I like. But really, the algorithm is also pushing songs that like other people are liking because it works on trends. So like all the music now is like, it's like listening to the radio where like, except for the DJ's not saying the song name at the end. So you don't really know what you're listening to unless you are a proper purchaser of music and you're an active listener where you know what you're listening to. And so we find that a lot of our fans are active listeners and therefore they show up at the gigs that we do. Like, so the audience grows and we're getting thousands of people coming to our gigs now because they've been following us and like the brand, like as we've put out. But a lot of these bands that get pushed by labels, they like, people might not even, will have even heard of them.
I have a feeling you'll watch this back in many years from now and say, fucking hell, we did it right all along, didn't we? We grew our fans, we stick to what we
I think that's kind of what we've realised a bit.
And you've gone against the grain, but it's paid off.
Yeah. I remember when our guy down in London who told us bands aren't hot and get something new. I remember him saying something. I think we told George to tell him that we were going to do this thing. We were going to we're going to stay as a band, and I think he wanted to change something about us. And his reply was, "Yeah, but that'll take years." And we went, and I remember us all going, "Well, it'll take years."
I get asked so many times about business advice, and go through the basic questions, and more times than enough after I say, well, just make sure you dedicate the next 2 decades to what you're going to do, and along the way you probably change what you're going to do. And you sometimes get people looking at you saying, and I say, well, that's what I've done. And I think the next 2 decades are going to be quite similar to the last 2. Yeah. Although I do know with that approach, it's going to be probably a safer approach than looking for my black swan moment where overnight I've
definitely
I've made it. And
I don't think that's a healthy way of doing it either.
It's hard to. Someone offers you an unbelievable opportunity, or your money falls in your lap, or at work. We all just it's woohoo. We're just celebrate.
And there is some golden gooses there. That, there's bands that have that. They have the hit song on the first album, and it goes like that, and it stays like that forever. But it's 1 in a million, and
at least you know that.
Yeah.
You see them bands now a little bit as well, and it's almost a little bit sad, like, because it's like they still try and bring out new art and like what they consider to be art, but no one's interested because they just cared about that time when they were getting loads of money pumped into them, so they were everywhere, and that was the image of them.
It's probably
like,
a good
you can't really escape that image, like, and they almost look older as a band almost because they're always being compared to that moment in time. Like, it's
a good job we've got no hits then.
Yeah, sick.
That's what I think. Like.
Let's talk about the new album.
Yeah, I mean, that I suppose is the focus at the moment now, isn't it?
Yeah, the moment comes out on the 23rd of February. I think we're on for a good chart position this time.
Yeah.
I mean, last time was good too, but this time it really has. It's got to a point where we're looking, top 10, top 5 if something happens in the next couple of weeks.
It's a stock market, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Stock market, the housing crisis.
Yeah, it can change like week by week. All it needs is someone to announce a surprise album, doesn't it? And it knocks you back a couple of places. But I mean, the chart position, you all focus on it quite a lot. I like what it brings. Like, everyone looks at these charts now, and it's like, because no one buys albums after they're out now. It's all about this pre-order system, and there's loads of hoops to jump through for that.
Yeah.
And like, you can sell a gig with albums as a ticket, but you can't do it for some. It has to be a registered venue, and it's all very weird. And basically, when the album comes out, it's almost the end of the campaign once you get that chart position, because no one seems to try anymore. Where like, because it's so hard when people are releasing new music, all these pre-orders come as the figure.
As the one, yeah.
It's really strange because obviously you look back over like 15 years ago, and it's like, will they still be at number one this week? This album, this artist, and it's not like that at all now. It's just you focus on that one week.
It's very much reflectant of.
Could you buy all the albums yourself and go to number one?
It's been tried and it's been debunked. Hasn't it by a few people, I think. Yeah,
we're very sort of up to date with the regulations of this now. So I think every person can buy 4. Every person can buy 4, and then 4 count as the album. If they buy a 5th, that doesn't count for the album charts. You can have. You've got to be, if you do a venue and say you can buy a ticket and an album, you've also got to give them a ticket only option. Yeah. So you can't be like conning people into going, oh, come and see us live, but you need to buy an album. Like you need to give people an option.
It's all very strange. Like it's funny to watch though, but I do think like I don't like that side of it because I think it's all a bit fake with the position. But I do like what it brings out of us as a band, which is like, all right, we have that goal to try and get a top 10 album, and it gets everyone excited and behind the scenes, and we get better ideas when our back's to the wall and we're trying to achieve something, like more of the contents, which is very important, more important now than it ever has been for any release.
The DIY social media thing is the only thing that we really got at our disposal to sell. Yeah. You know, that's the only thing that we control, and we can portray ourselves and our art as good as possible because we're fully in control of it. Obviously, someone else chooses whether you go on the radio, someone else chooses whether you go on a streaming platform, someone else chooses all those things, whereas we can just be like, no, this is the song and this is how we wanted it to be, and there's a video to complement it and whatever. So we just push that to its absolute hilt, and if something else happens, then great. But
basically, we got all the music done a year ago, and now we're thinking about anything else but the music for the last year until it comes out and we get to play the songs live, and then we'll think about the music a little bit when we're doing that. And then I don't know, it's good to have new work as well, and just sometimes you can feel a bit stagnant being on the same, because it's the longest we've had between releases, this as well, isn't it? Like nearly 2 years since we did. Was it? Yeah.
Over 2 years, yeah.
Is it over 2 years?
November, yeah.
Yeah, over 2 years since our last album, so we didn't want to feel like we were stuck in a bit of a rut, and it's been nice because we've had a bit of a rebrand. Like you can change yourself a little bit, you know, do yourself up, get back into the training and stuff, and just try and work on a bit of a different image. And I think the singles have been going down quite well with these ones.
Yeah, we've definitely seen a progression in fan engagement.
Yeah.
From your story and everything you're telling me, if I had a group of people and business partners and colleagues that had the long-term goals in my early days like I do now, I know that that's definitely a recipe for success. To have you guys part of the city, I'm adopted in, so I'm part of the city now too, but I think, you know, the values you share, the stories you share, the fact that, you know, Liverpool as an economy needs people like you that's going to be around for a long time and not going to be the overnight success here today, gone tomorrow. And I think your night at the M&S Arena is going to be phenomenal, and I think that there's definitely going to be big things for you, and I'm glad to know you as people. I'm glad to be able to sit here and have a great conversation with you, and I think that you have brought through this podcast amazing value to those people that maybe just didn't know you, and I'm sure that will now set you on your way to even more success.
Cheers. Fingers crossed, yeah. We'll see how the album does. It's excited for it.
For the people of Liverpool, the economy of Liverpool, your economy, and anyone that can get some lessons for this, I think for me it's been a pleasure, and thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks for having us, Sean. Appreciate it. Yeah, glad.
Ciao, ciao. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.